Let us try to study the next concept in our object-oriented programming, and this concept is called as inheritance and polymorphism. What I have done is I have created a file right over here called as inheritance and polymorphism, and let us try to see what's going on. Just to give you a very simple example, we are all human beings, but we are also animals. That means we inherit a lot of properties from animals. For example, all of us have eyes, ears, hands and legs. But all of us human beings, we don't speak the same language. Now that's polymorphism in action. Inheritance means we inherit all of the features of an animal, and polymorphism means even though we have the same properties, but we exhibit different behavior. Now let's create some classes and see this in action. Let us create the first class called as animal. So let us create a class of animal. Let us define our methods over here. First is the self, and let me accept one argument for name, one for the age, and one for the number of legs. This returns nothing, so I can say none. Let me put up a comment that we are going to create and initialize the instance variables. Let's start creating some of our instance variables. So I can say my self dot name is equal to my name, then my self dot age is equal to age, then self dot of legs is equal to my num of legs. Let us also create the str method. So I can say define my str, it takes a self, it returns a string, and here I can return, let's say we can just return the name for now. So I can say name, and this would be self dot name. Let us try to give animals some kind of behavior. So let us create a method called as talk on animal. So I can say define a method called as talk. The first parameter would be self, and this is going to return nothing, so none for now. Let me put up some documentation saying that this method makes the animal talk. But let's see what we can do right now. Since we don't know what kind of animal it is, that's why we can't talk yet. So let us print the same thing right over here. So I can say print my formatted string self dot name can't talk yet. So let us go down and let us create one animal. So this is my first animal. So I can say I want an instance of the class of animal. The name is Robin, age maybe is 10 years old, number of legs is 4. Then let us print out the animal, and let's also try to make the animal talk. So a1.talk, just save a file and let me run it. So here we have the output. We have Robin, and Robin can't talk yet. Now let's go back and let's see how we can create some sort of inheritance. Let us create a dog. Now remember, dog is a kind of animal, so you can say that dog inherits from animal. Let me create a class and then I will try to explain what's happening. So let me create a class called as dog. Now here inside the brackets, we have to specify from which class we are inheriting. So dog is inheriting from the class of animal. So this is how it goes. Let us create our constructor right over here as well. So define init self. Now let's see what happens. Since the dog inherits from animal, dog also needs to accept all of these parameters: name, age, number of legs. So let me just copy and paste. And here we can accept some more arguments as well. So let me create one more argument for breed. So we can accept one for breed. Let me get the spelling right. Let us go down and let us start creating our instance variables. Here at this point, Python can do a small bit of magic for us. Since dog is inheriting from animal, we don't have to create all of the instance variable manually. Instead, what we can do is we can pass the common data to the class we are inheriting from. So we are going to take all of this data and we are going to pass this data to animal. So technically animal can be also called as your parent class, or it can also be called as your super class. Let me put up a comment. So we want to take all of the common features and pass it to the parent or the super class. Python provides a keyword called as super. So this super means the class of animal, and now we want to pass all of this data to a method, and that method is called as init. Now remember, init is just like any other function except it has underscores at the beginning and at the end. So we can call that method as we can call any other method. So we can say super and underscore underscore init underscore underscore, and let us pass the common features, which is the name, age, and the number of legs. Now it is the responsibility of the super class, that means the class of animal, to create instance variables for the name, age, and number of legs. The only argument that is remaining is for the breed. So inside dog we can create one more instance variable called as self.breed, and we can assign the value. We can also create extra instance variable even though we are not accepting parameters right over here. So let me give you a small example. So I can say self.type is equal to dog. So you can see we can create instance variables wherever we want them. So let me save this. So this is what I mean by inheritance. Dog is a class which inherits from animals and they share a lot of common functionality. That's why we are passing the common functionality to the superclass, and we can create some additional instance variables as well. Now let's see how we can introduce polymorphism in this class. Remember the superclass of animal has a method of str. So let's override this method and let us create a different str method for dog. So let's see how we can do that. The syntax is going to be exactly the same. So we have to say define str, takes in a self, gives back a string, and let me print out a message over here. Let us use the formatted string. So we can say self.type followed by the self.name, and let us also print out the breed. So I can say the breed of the dog is self.breed. Oh, sorry, we can't print because remember the str method always has to return a string. So thanks to our typing, my code editor is catching an error. So this has to be return, not string. Let me take out the brackets. Now everything looks good. Now let's create a dog. So I can go right over here. So I can say my first dog is an instance of the class of dog. The name is whiskey. The age, I can use my keyword arguments as well. So my age is 5 years old. Number of legs is obviously 4, and the breed, maybe the breed could be Doberman. Let's try to print out our dog. So I can say print my dog. Let me save it and let me try to run this file. So here you can see we have a Doberman by the name of whiskey, and the breed is Doberman. Now let us try and explore some more benefits of inheritance. So you can see we have created a class of dog which inherits from animals. Since dog inherits from animals, it also inherits all of the behavior of animal. The class of dog does not have a method for talk, but the class of animal has it. So we can actually make the dog talk as well. So we can say d1.talk. Let me save it and let me try to run this file, and we get the output that whiskey can't talk yet, but we can use our polymorphism and we can make whiskey talk. So let's see how to do that. So inside my class of dog, we are going to create a new method called as talk, and the new method is going to override the method inside the class of animal. So it's just like creating another method, so we can say define talk. It always takes self. This is going to return nothing, and here let's print out, so I can say self dot name says woof, and let me save the file and let us try running this. And now we have the output, whiskey is saying woof. Let us go back and let us see what else we can do. Let me take out this space. This class of dog, it can have its own behavior. Now since this is a dog, our dog can also sniff different items. So let's create a method called as sniff on dog. So let us go down over here. So I can say define a method called as sniff. The first argument is always the self. Now these methods are just like your regular functions. They can also accept arguments. So let me take an argument for the item that the dog is supposed to sniff. It is going to be a string. This method is also going to return nothing, so I can just say none. And let us print out a message, self.name is sniffing out the item. So please note that here we don't have to use self dot, because item is not an instance variable. Item is just a regular argument on a regular function. Let us go down and let us try to sniff. So let me say d1, I want you to sniff for a ball. Save a file and let us run it. So here we can see we have the output, whiskey is sniffing out ball. Let us create one more class for cat, and since cat is also an animal, cat is going to inherit animal as well. So you can see we can have multiple classes that can inherit from other classes as well. Let me put a comment saying that this method of talk, this is the place we are altering the method and we are adding some polymorphic behavior. So let me go down and let me put a separator and let us create the class of cat. And creating that class is pretty simple. I just have to copy all of these things. So let me copy, let me go down and paste it right over here. Let's change the name from dog to cat. The type also is a cat this time. We don't want the comment now, and the cat says meow. And we don't want this method because cats are not so good at sniffing. So let me take it out. Let us create one instance of our cat. So I can say my cat number 1 is my cat. The name is Jess. Suppose she is 2 years old. Number of legs is 4, and the breed could be a Persian cat. Let us print out the cat. So I can say print, and let us also make the cat talk. So I can say c1.talk. That's it. Let us run the file and we have the output. So we have a cat named Jess. The breed is a Persian cat and Jess is saying meow. So now you get the idea. Just for the sake of practice, let us create one more class for a dinosaur. Now this dinosaur is also going to inherit from animal. Let me copy and paste this separator. Let me copy all of this as well, and let me go down and let me paste it right over here. So since this is a dinosaur, I can just say dino, and this has to be dino as well. And since we don't know what dinosaurs can talk, put some random text. Now the dinosaur can also hunt. So let us create one method for hunt. So let's create one method called as hunt. It accepts a self and returns a none. Here I can say print self.name is out for hunting. Let's create one dinosaur. So I can say my dino1 is equal to my dino. Suppose the name is Adam. Age could be 8 years old. Suppose the number of legs are 2 and the breed could be T-Rex. Let's print out the dino. Let us also make the dino talk, and also let us make the dino hunt. That's it. Let me save and let me run the file, and we have the output. So this is a dinosaur. Adam is saying something. Adam is out for hunting. So now you get the idea. We can have multiple classes inheriting from a single class, or you can also inherit from multiple classes as well. But we are not covering that in these tutorials. Let me put a separator and let me show you one nice trick. We can also ask Python if a certain class inherits from other class or not. So let's see if the dog and the cat inherits from animal or not. So I can say print, and we can use an inbuilt method called as isInstance. The first argument is the object that we want to compare. So let me pass my dog, and the next argument is the parent class that we want to compare with. So suppose I want to see if the dog is of the type of animal. So let me save it and let me try to run it. And here we have the answer. It's true. And that's because the class of dog is inheriting from animal. Now here I want you to understand one point. All of the dogs are animals, but all of the animals are not dogs. So please keep this in your mind. Let us check if D1 is a kind of dog. So I can say isInstance D1 and dog. Let me print it out. And yes, it is. Let us do one last time for our cat. So let me copy and paste. So this becomes C1 and this becomes cat. And let us see the output. So here it is. C1 is an instance of cat as well.